Hi everybody, this is Mr. RB. Today I'm going to go over some pinch pot building techniques. I have a ball of clay here, and I'm going to just sort of round it by pushing back and forth in cupped hands. I always think of this as the baseball pitcher up on the mound, thinking through what they're going to do, getting the feel for the ball. In this case, that's what we're doing really with the clay. We're also making it sort of a rounder and slightly smoother lump. If I really want it smooth, I can put it between flat hands and roll it. I could even put it down on my tabletop. I find there are some surfaces that the clay tends to stick to. I have a wooden board to work on today, but I also put a piece of paper down so that when I'm building, my clay won't get stuck to the surface. Now I'm going to make a hole and open this up. I'm going to push down with my thumb. I don't want to go all the way to the bottom and through the other side because I don't want a hole in my pot. But hopefully you can see there that I went pretty deep. Now, another thing I like about having the paper is as I pinch, which is sort of this motion, I have my thumb inside and my fingers outside. And as I pinch, I turn, pinch, turn, pinch, turn, pinch. And the paper makes it easy for the clay to turn. It's almost like working on a potter's wheel. And really the same idea, because I'm trying to apply pressure to all the sides of the clay at a certain level, going from top up, so that's equally thinned out at every point. Once I get that lower part thinned out, I'm going to move up a little. I want to keep the lip or top of my pot fairly thick. It's always easier to thin it out than to make it thicker. I'm not saying there aren't ways to reinforce or make an overly thin lip thicker, but it's easier if you just keep it a little on the thicker side as you're going at first. Today I'm focusing on cups and bowls. You can see I just slowly go around, and I want to have it be the same thickness all the way around at a given level. And really, I'd like it to be pretty much the same thickness from bottom to top. I might want a little extra thickness at the bottom. This becomes more true if I'm making something like a small vase, and I want to make sure that the flowers don't overbalance the container that's holding them. If I want to get it really smooth, first I'm going to smooth out the lip. Just going to turn it over like this and give it a little tap tap. Not too hard. I don't want to crush the pot. But you can see it's evened off the top there. It looks a lot smoother or more even. To even out the outside, I'm going to put it on its side. I'm going to reach into it with my fingers and just give it a little pressure so that it takes on the texture of the paper it is now being pressed against. The paper is smooth, therefore, and now you can see that first side coming around. The pot takes on a smooth shape. This can be particularly helpful if I want to add textures for interest. For instance, maybe I want to add a leaf texture. This one's a little tricky because these leaves are so delicate. I have to say I've done this with evergreens, much easier. The stem is easy enough, but I need to press this all over so it's really into the clay without unduly damaging my little cup. When it's pressed in, I gently pry it up. Ooh, I have to get one end. Not being so cooperative here. Let me try this end. Ah, much better. Let's see. And I've got a slight leaf impression. It's a little scant for me, but the best way to try things to figure out what will work for you, try things out, see what it does. I also have this piece of a log. Instead of pressing against the paper, I could press against a log and get a texture like the wood grain. I want a very earthy effect and feeling, something that feels very connected to nature. I find using objects from nature for the texture a very helpful way to do that. So now I have a cup. I'm going to set this one aside for a moment. I want to take out one that I started earlier. Here's one that I ran into a slight problem, which I hope you can see. There's a hole in the bottom. Not the end of the world. I'm going to take this little piece of soft clay. I'm just going to put it in the bottom. I'm going to smush it down. Fortunately, the tabletop is pushing up as my thumb pushes down. Then I want to smooth out the edges so that that really becomes one piece of clay. I don't want to have any problems with its breaking apart later. Now, no hole in the bottom. I can then finish making my pot. If I don't want such a square bottom, I can also put it on edge on the corner, so it's not quite flat and not on its bottom and not on its side, but just pushing down against this corner edge. I'm going to round that off a little. What is the right shape? Well, it depends on what your idea is, what you're trying to accomplish, and what your preference is. What are your criteria? What are your goals? One thing to ask yourself is, do you want this to be a cup that people drink or eat out of? That definitely sets up certain requirements, as opposed to a bowl that people just look at and enjoy the visual experience of. And this one's sort of wobbly. Here's a thing I sometimes do when I want to make them not wobbly and I want to give them a little more poise. I'll take a little clay from this ball over here, and I'm just going to make a quick little coil. Ooh. I'm keeping it, about as thick as maybe a pretzel rod. It's probably a little longer than I need. I'm going to make it into a donut and just drop it. There. I want it to get flat on one side because it'll be easier to attach. I'm going to attach it to the bottom of this cup I was working on to give the cup a foot. Once I get it in place, then I want to carefully connect it as I would any coil. If the bottom of my cup is very thin and delicate, I may need to hold it from the inside as well to provide some counter pressure. Then the question is, do I want people to see, what do I want them to see on the outside? Do I want them to look more like a donut? Do I want it to feel more like it's part of the cup and blend it in? I'm blending this one in now, just so you can see the difference. Again, I'm just using basic coil building techniques here. There's pressure on the inside from these fingers, pressure on the outside from my thumb. And the two equal out, which is why the cup doesn't get all deformed. I'm going to smooth this out, and again, as my finger here is going around the outside, I have these fingers on the inside providing counter pressure. I don't have to move the ones on the inside. Now, I can pinch that up just a little because I did leave it nice and thick. I want to make things very smooth, especially if I'm making things for eating, for food, where people are going to be eating out of it and then washing it. I want the surfaces to feel safe, the lip to be smooth and rounded, the foot to be stable. And there we go. We have a small cup with no handle. And we've talked about making some textures. So I hope that helps you out. And I'll be back with some more ideas in the next Pinch Cup video. Talk to you soon.